Welcome back to some more Create Integrated. Now, last episode, we built a monorail train station that actually has a functioning monorail train in it, believe it or not, that can spin us all around our world. But there is still one thing that I feel like this world is really missing. More power. All right, I know, hear me out. This has been what we've been using through this entire playthrough for power. I've been able to get away with just simply having 4 alternators set up that are, well, running off of one of these configurable gearboxes. And this has been fine and well. This has actually gotten us by, but I haven't upgraded my refined storage system yet. I haven't added the ability for us to, well, have cross-dimensional access to it, or access to it no matter where we're at in the world. And if I'm ever going to be able to call this world complete, it is having access to our storage no matter where we're at. That, I feel, would be complete. Now, jumping back into our quest book, right here is where we are going to get that infinity range booster. And it also mentions that we also have network receivers and network transmitters. These allow us to send our network cross-dimensionally and also within dimension, and allows all of our power from our network and everything to be carried. This is actually pretty cool, and it's just a part of base refined storage. But what I really want are these dimensional cards. So we are going to need to make our base dimensional card, which the infinity range allows us to have infinite range throughout our base. But the upgraded version of that with Eclipse alloy ingots, this right here is access everywhere. And that is going to be the ultimate thing that I want to go for. But now there is one catch, and that catch is power, like I mentioned. See, for the base card, this one, the regular one that gives you access in the world, well, that one's going to come at a cost of 4,000 RF per tick. And if we want to go cross-dimensional with it, well, that one's going to come at an RF cost, constantly draining, by the way, of 8,000 RF per tick. Well, currently we're only generating 4 times 360, which is about 1,440 RF per tick. So I was thinking it could be kind of cool if we set up power generators inside of our monorail station, and inside here we can utilize some of this extra space potentially in the roof, and over here we can have a battery that is storing all of our power. Now, to be able to reach about 8,000 RF per tick with our alternators, we are going to need about 23 of them, give or take. That's kind of rounding up. And this is going to consume a ton of our current stress capacity, because to be able to make this all work, I mean, we're going to need over 300,000 SU to power them. But you know what? One of the biggest achievements of this world was getting this thing set up, and I thought I was going a little overboard for it, but actually, we're going to be cutting it really close. So for the alternator, this one's quite easy. We can handle this inside of our mechanical crafters, some basic components that we have plenty of. But the accumulator, this one requires electrum wire and also requires brass casings, which we now have. And this is actually going to be a multi-block that allows us to store our power, which we haven't utilized just yet. Well, this will be kind of cool. Now, I've prepped up some items for the motors, and this actually gives me a good time to show off some really interesting ways that we can use mechanical arms. So, for example, I had this mechanical crafter that was on this wall over here, and I've shrunken it down so that way it's exactly the size that we are going to need to be able to make things like the alternator, for example. So to be able to get more alternators, I can go ahead and I can place brass funnels on here and make sure that they are facing in, just like so. There we go. And then we can just go ahead and start building the recipe on the filters. So it's like our first part of like setting up some semi-automation. So we'll fill this like so, and then get all of our sheets lined up, just making sure that everything is setting the way it's supposed to. Next, what we can do after getting the filter set up, we count how many individual ingredients are actually used to make the thing that we're about to make. And for example, this recipe, the alternator, is going to require 5. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Beautiful. 5 individual depots. Each of these depots are going to contain our individual item stacks for these ingredients. However, we don't actually have to put them in exact amounts. So for example, I can put that here, I can put this here. We don't have to like do anything special, just making sure that those items are available for this to be able to craft. And then, for example, you can use like chutes or something like that to keep them supplied with all of their ingredients. And then it's just a matter of using a mechanical arm, which is such a useful tool, by the way. And so what we'll do is we'll set all of these to take mode, and then we'll start clicking here. We'll say this will be deposit and make sure all of these are set to deposit mode. Perfect. Once that's all said and done, you just simply need to place this down, and love that it says the Organizotron, which, yeah, could take items from any inventory and create organization setups for you. But here we go. All we got to do is get a cogwheel on this bad boy, and we're just about ready to go. If I put this here, it's only going to send to the places that it's supposed to go into, except for whatever it's doing here. I actually have no idea what it's doing here. Yeah, that seems like broken to me, but if I put even more items on here, it should start taking those other items. I found why that it was doing this. This actually needs to be rotated into the entire crafter solution. There we go. Because this has to think that the entire thing is one unit. So there we go. So yeah, if you encounter that problem, I guess there's the solution to it. Perfect. After reassigning everything, like I said, place all of the components down that is needed for the craft. It is going to take them, distribute them the way that they're supposed to be distributed, like that. And then we should start getting all of the individual components going into the system, and it should just keep looping the crafting recipe over and over again. So there we go. Then after getting it set up, you can just grab yourself a cup of coffee or potentially some tea. I tell you, nothing like seeing mechanical labor in motion. And then if you wanted to speed this up a little bit and get kind of wild with it, you can use a temporal pouch on it, and it starts to go a little bit wild. It's so fast. And now from the fruits of its labor, we have ourselves the 23 alternators that we're going to need. Like I said, give or take. Now I do want to start like utilizing as much of my facility as possible, so I'll go ahead and get my sheet presser going. And then I just want to create some more electrum wires, and we're going to need the electrum wires to be able to route some power around, specifically to that accumulator we're about to make. And now I'm thinking about 32 accumulators, so we can make it about 8 blocks tall, and we can make a 4x4 of these, and these work very similar to vaults, but these can go vertical and these store power. Now I've started to lay out a little bit of this, the area that is going to contain the alternators, and I'm thinking here, I have 23. So if we divide it by 4, we need like 5 per, but we also need 1 extra on top of that. So this is kind of what I've come up with. It's not the most elegant, but it is in line with everything else down here, which I think will keep everything kind of flowing smoothly. But what's going to happen, this is all going to be lined up and connected to one another. And I kind of want to see how much can like these electrum spools handle? How much can the large connectors handle? And can we technically pass through power between all of the connectors and line it up till we get to the accumulator? And the accumulator I want set up over here. And so this is going to go all the way up, and look at that, 24 million is what this can hold. That is so much. But yes, I want to have a chain run through this and ultimately end up on this connector, which will then tap in to the accumulator. Oh, and it looks like the accumulator can only go so tall. Okay, at this level. Interesting. Okay, so you know what? We'll stick with this level right here. So at this size, 40 million RF can be stored inside this container. And so these are the last 2 that need to go on here. All right, I think this is going to have to work. Okay, so each one of these is going to need a connector that's placed on the outside of it. And thankfully, these automatically are set to send mode. And then I need to connect like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run the connection down like so all the way till we get to the end. And I'm going to kind of mix and match whenever we get here. Like these 2 will probably connect to this. This middle one will just connect to the middle one. And these 2 will connect to the outside. And then I think up here, we'll just use the single large connector. Use our wrench to make sure this is set to push mode. That way it'll send all of the power into this. And this is going to require us to connect all of them to the top. And I think these can accept up to 6 individual connections. I'm hoping that this just transfers all of the power it receives. I don't think I've ever generated this much power from Create before. Like, especially utilizing alternators. Like, I've only used, like, very little of this, and I've never used these connectors to carry that much power. But it's moment of truth time. We're about to find out how quickly does this accumulator fill up, and how much power are we going to be making, and hopefully if it is going to support everything. So let's go ahead, tap it in, and there we go. Whoa, okay, 300,000 FE, 500,000, 6, 7, 8. We're already almost pushing 1,000,000 FE. These are definitely sending, but these are filled still to the brim with power, or at least they're showing to be filled. So I am wondering if we are actually... Oh no, they have a max transfer rate of 5,000 FE per tick, I do believe, because it does show that on the network usage. So you know what? I'm going to break this, and then I'm going to separate these networks. And what I'll do is I'll have 3 separate inputs. That way we can keep them separate. And I think that that will allow all of the power that we are generating to make it into here. Because this is going to be one of the biggest bottlenecks, is just simply how much power can each line handle. All right. Oh, I see power actually flowing through this now, which should indicate that that's enough. And then last but not least, the final line up here. Okay. And that to me looks like things are flowing. Yes, power is draining out of these. That's exactly what we want to see. Oh, and how cool is that? The indicator actually raises and you can see it functioning. So now we've kind of got to test this a bit further. Okay, so I'm going to use a flux plug, and I would assume that a flux plug would be able to consume the power out of the accumulator, and that this will be considered part of the network without needing to push into, for example, the flux plug. I believe it can just read that, hey, this is the inventory for the power. Or so I think, because we may actually need to change how this is set up. And we're about to find out, because as soon as we put these upgrades in here, it's either going to keep this running or it's going to shut the entire network down. So now's the moment. We need to prep up for the infinity range cards. So first things first, take a trip back to the end. All right. And not take a look at any of the Endermen. I just want to simply pop down here, make sure my magnet is on, get as close as I can to the void without stepping into it, and then drop some chromatic compound, because it's going to require some shadow steel. And there we go. We've picked that up. Also going to need some refined radiance. So throw some of that through the beacon. I absolutely love this one. And now I just need to get everything ready to go and start crafting it. It's shadow steel in the bottom, refined radiance in the middle, eyes of Ender, and then that is basically it. We can form the craft, and beautiful. It actually went right into our system. And there's 4 of those crafted up. Now with all of the infinity range boosters, we need to combine those together with another refined radiance, placing all of them in the corners, eclipse block in the center, and then a refined radiance. And that is the final booster card. With the dimensional card, now we finally get to put everything to the test. Are we generating enough power? I mean, I know we're using a whole lot of stress to be able to generate that power, but I really need to make sure that we're optimizing the power setup and that our controller can even handle it, because it does have a 10,000 RF transfer rate, I do believe, at the moment. So let's test this out. We'll take out this range upgrade and we put the dimensional one in here, and now it should be unlimited. And are we drawing power? Look at that, 8,000 being pulled from here. And then we can check our entire network statistics over here, and we notice we are draining. Okay, so this is a absolute problem, meaning that we are not currently receiving power into our network the way that I thought we were going to. Not to stress out, I think we can solve this problem. I think what I'm going to need to do is set up our plug a little bit differently, because I just don't think that it is accepting power the way that I thought it was going to accept power. So instead, we can place this maybe right here. And instead we can put some like decoration up here and run separate connectors, like a connector here and one here, and then run connectors possibly into this. So there we go. We have that one set, this one set, that is set to in, that is automatically set to push, and we'll connect these because they are on separate lines. I would assume that this now will be able to accept that power, or so I hope. And you know what? I think that did solve the problem, because I notice now the buffer, this is like a emergency backup buffer. And it is supposed to be the last line of defense for keeping our network from shutting off. And so we can actually check in one of these basic storages, which is just storing like almost 2 million FE. And we can check here if this is dwindling. And so we can see our network statistics. We are using quite a bit of power, but if this was draining like it was doing before, that meant that we had hit our power threshold. But this is now no longer going down, which means that that solution is definitely working. And so there we go. 2 separate lines, both being able to pull a maximum of 5,000 FE per tick. Ah, yes, it's just a numbers game at the end of the day. But all of this to be able to access our storage, no matter what dimension we're in and no matter how far we're at. For example, I can access my storage, so long as it remains chunk loaded, right here. Look at this. I'm in the end. And I can still access it. I can still put things in here. And I could, for example, be all the way at my friend's base, like if I had any, right? And I could be over there and I can access my storage all the way over there. That would be great. So now we have cross-dimensional access, but there's also several other things that I kind of want to do in the world. Like I want to start min-maxing and maxing out as many of my relics that I use as possible. And I've already got several of them done. The way you can do this is you take XP, for example, from my XP farm, which I just recently drained quite a bit from. And if you go into something like this, for example, and it's not fully complete, you can hold shift right here, and this can max out the effect if you have enough experience. Now, it kind of goes up and down, but essentially it will keep running it until it hits max level. And that is fantastic. So sometimes it can cost a whole lot, sometimes it may not. But yes, it is really, really cool to be able to do this. Now, to be able to get these up to max level, you do have to still level them up. And these have all been in my inventory. Like the Rage Glove still is not at max level. I mean, just look at some of these things. But there are several things that we can min-max to get their max stats on them. But yeah, I wanted to show off the relics because I just spent a little bit of time sort of min-maxing several of them, and they have a really cool effect whenever you do get them to max level. But let's get back into refined storage for a minute. So with refined storage, there's actually another thing I want to do. So inside of my planarium, I kind of want to get access to this chest. And that would mean that I would need to get refined storage access inside the planarium. And this is not something that we can just do after crafting unlimited wireless range. However, we can access our storage in here, but this doesn't solve that problem of having access to this no matter where we're at. To be able to get access, well, we need 1, a network transmitter, and 2, we're going to need a network receiver. Well, and then we also need a network card. And the way that we can get this linked in is we take a network transmitter, and that stays at our main network, for example, right here. And then what we need to do is we need to take a receiver and set its position in the new dimension. So if we go ahead and we head into here, we can place this. I do want to actually place this sort of underneath this chest, and preferably like right here would be really nice. So we can place in our network receiver, which is going to receive the signal, but we've got to tell our transmitter where to send to. So we shift right click, and that has now bound this network receiver's ID to the network card. And so we just pop in back home and we place this in. And now we are sending everything from that our refined storage has currently right now to that dimension, including power. Like even sending power and making sure all of that is transferred is now being done and being handled cross-dimensionally. Keep in mind, this does come at a little bit of a power cost, but we're actually doing super well on power now. And so hooking up an external storage to this now, that just got a whole lot easier. Except for I need to actually get down here. But you know what? Oh yeah, we still have some residual creative flight. There we go. Place that on. Make sure this is set to extract only, because I don't want to be pulling from this system or actually inserting into the system. And now this thing is good. We can now access all of the items that are inside of here now throughout our network anywhere we need it. And so there we go. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about food anytime soon. And so that, my friends, is ultimate power generation and also cross-dimensional storage access. And well, what icing to put on the cake when it comes to our beautiful world that we've been creating. Now, this technically is going to be the last playthrough episode, but there is going to be another episode after this one where I am going to be going over and recapping all of the fantastic things that we've done along the way. This has been a multi-month journey, and I hope you have enjoyed every stretch of it. And of course, let me know down in the comments below what has been your favorite part of this adventure. I'm also going to ask that same question in the next episode, but it's going to be a little bit different. And guys, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a huge thumbs up. And also, don't forget to check out the Discord. Link down in the description below. Now, without further ado, it's time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks, well, that is going to go out to, if I can spell things right, Sola Pancake. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over in the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. You absolute boss. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.